the video, smash, smash, smash that subscription. If you don't mind, it's time to get rolling with the program because my main story tonight has to do with what's going on in New York State. At first, I took some interest in the correctional officer strike. If you didn't know, COs in 40 prisons, maximum, medium, minimum, the 40 prisons across New York State, the correctional officers are on strike. They are complaining about poor working conditions. They are complaining that they are being mandated to work 24-hour and sometimes 48-hour shifts. They're also upset that after 6 correctional officers at Marcy Correctional Facility murdered inmate Robert Brooks on video in December of 2024. Certainly, you guys remember that. The video was quite graphic. And this man was unjustifiably murdered by those that were supposed to, at minimum, provide him a basic standard of human care while in state custody. Well, after that murder, after Mr. Brooks' murder, Governor Kathy Hochul vowed that correctional officers will be required to comply with all body cam standards. As you guys may or may not remember, portions of Mr. Brooks's unfathomable beating, the audio, it was muted. Why? Because the correctional officers apparently did not enable their body cams in the way that they were supposed to. Also, Kathy Hochul said that there was going to be more cameras put in the prisons in order to better monitor all the things, I guess, prisoner movements in the jail, but also to keep an eye on the correctional officers because they seemingly, with frequency, violate the basic human and civil rights of incarcerated people. Oh, and by the way, just because you're in jail doesn't mean that you lose your human rights, okay? You are there to serve a state-imposed sentence, but that does not mean that officers get to beat you mercilessly, get to kill you even, or get to deny you basic human needs, human rights, like food, like water, like medical treatment. But guys, because of this correctional officer strike, that's exactly what's going on right now. People that are behind the wall in New York State are not getting food. They are not getting let out of their cells. They are not being given medical treatment. They are not, in fact, being administered any medication for those that need it. This is actually a human rights crisis that's going on right now in New York State. And because of the desire of some women whose TikTok videos I happen to encounter because their partners are incarcerated in New York State facilities, that made me investigate this story a little bit more. But there is a tie-in to the murder of Robert Brooks, and I do have a slight bit of good news to announce tonight that those 6 killer cracker correctional officers have been charged with murder. So let's go to the packages coming out of the first package is going to be, I think, a New York City based outlet. And then the other one is more upstate, I believe, because where's Marcy Correctional Facility, y'all? Utica? Somewhere upstate. So anyway, let's get the update about the murder charges announced for Robert Brooks's killers.
Six correctional officers were arrested and charged with the murder in the brutal beating of a handcuffed person incarcerated. News 12's Nadia Galindo was at a rally in Manhattan where local groups continued to call for change.
We do not deserve to be beat to death because we made one mistake in our lives.
A call for action outside the Manhattan office of Governor Kathy Hochul, hours before she announced prison guards will face murder charges for the brutal beating of Robert Brooks at an upstate prison back in December.
It's not a wake-up call for us, right? Because this is something that we've always been complaining about.
Stephen Brathwaite spent 31 years in prison and says abuse of incarcerated people is rampant in New York prisons.
It's sad when you can't really even depend on the people who's supposed to be there to protect you.
The rally comes as prison guards strike at some state prisons, demanding more pay, staffing, and better working conditions. Just yesterday, Governor Kathy Hochul deployed more than 3,500 National Guard members to state prisons where correctional officers are now striking.
You don't want to do the job job, then get somebody to do it. But there's no call for this strike.
Prison reform groups believe the strike is a diversion. They want to see an independent oversight commission created to oversee the state's prisons.
If ever there is a real, thorough, independent investigation, many more officers and staff will be indicted.
A total of 6 correctional officers are charged with murder, gang assault, and manslaughter in connection to Brooks' death. Governor Hochul says she's working on safety reforms like new security cameras to ensure safety. In Manhattan, Nadia Galindo, News 12.
Tonight, tense moments in court as one by one and in handcuffs, 9 former or suspended New York State corrections officers made their first appearance before an Oneida County judge. 5 of them, Nicholas Anzalone, David Kingsley, Anthony Farina, Christopher Walrath, and Matthew Gallagher, facing murder charges for the December death of inmate Robert Brooks. Redacted body camera video from that day shows the group of officers repeatedly kicking and punching Brooks in the legs and chest and trying to jam an object down his throat.
These men murdered my father. It was on video. The whole world got to see it.
The alleged murder happened inside a medical examination room at the Marcy Correctional Facility in upstate New York on December 9th of last year.
Robert Brooks committed a crime. He was doing his time. He had a right to safety, to humanity. He was denied that. This is unacceptable.
3 other corrections officers, David Walters, Michael Fisher, and Michael Mashaw, facing charges of manslaughter, and 1, Nicholas Gentile, of tampering with evidence.
Our investigation further revealed that there was no provocation by Robert Brooks that would have precipitated any physical response whatsoever, never mind the physical response that was inflicted upon him.
All defendants pleading not guilty today.
Waive formal proceedings and plead not guilty to all charges at this time.
And released on bail, or in Gentile's case, of his own recognizance. Brooks was serving a 12-year sentence for stabbing his girlfriend and died from his injuries the next day.
I would never get my father back. The man have robbed me of that opportunity.
Robert Brooks's father, among those watching today from the courtroom.
You marched him out. You let him go. My son didn't get that opportunity. My son didn't have a bail. And my son didn't have a murder charge.
And Marquise Francis joins us now. Marquise, there is one more individual in this case facing a murder charge who did not appear in court at all today.
Yeah, that's right, Morgan. There's a 6th defendant, unnamed defendant, that was also charged with murder. And in fact, this person's name was redacted in the unsealed court documents that were revealed in court today. Now, what we did hear from the district attorney, this person was unable to surrender themselves today and appear in court, but they are not a flight risk. Even though we do not know their name, they are expected to appear before a judge in the near future.
Wow. Well, that's a whole lot of consideration being given for that 6th unnamed person charged in the murder of inmate Robert Brooks. And they were also not named in the unsealed court documents. That is weird. And you're not being required to turn yourself in to face a murder charge. Who the fuck is this person? What kind of privilege, what kind of accommodation and latitude are they being given, and why? I do have questions, but there's a lot to get to there. So let me address one thing, especially from Mr. Brooks's father. That man is 100% correct. And you guys know how I feel about domestic abusers. You guys know how I feel about people that intend and cause and do tremendous harm to women, children, and other vulnerable folks. Usually I do not have sympathy, but with Mr. Brooks, with Robert Brooks's case, where was he? I'm sorry, was he on the street? No, he was at fucking Marcy Correctional Facilities. He was about to serve 12 years for someone who stabbed his girlfriend. He was exactly where he was supposed to be, and he was going to pay his debt to society, whatever that means. But 12 years for a stabbing, I'll take it. Okay. You know, I'm not sure how his victim felt about it, but at the same time, this man is serving a sentence for causing tremendous harm to his partner. He did not deserve to be beat to death in a 6-on-1 assault. And just for reminder's sake, Robert Brooks, when they did the autopsy and they released the results of the autopsy, what ultimately was his cause of death is that trigger warning and content warning for graphic content, sounding, description, etc. Robert Brooks died from choking on his own blood. How did he choke on his own blood? Well, they beat him so bad he had bruising to his internal organs. They beat him so bad his hyaloid bone was fractured. That means they strangled him. That means they choked him. He repeatedly could not breathe. They beat him 6-on-1 because they're a bunch of fucking soft as scrotum skin cowards. They beat him while he was hogtied. And if you recall, in the second package, you saw a brief clip from one of the prosecutors who reinforced the fact that Robert Brooks did not do anything to provoke this attack from these correctional officers. He didn't say anything to them. He didn't spit at them. He didn't tell them go kiss his ass. He didn't do anything. There was no provocation on Robert Brooks's part. That it, and even if there had been, my God, he still didn't deserve to get beat to death. Okay. So there's that. So we got 6 COs charged with murder. Great. 17 total staff members from Marcy Corrections placed on suspension. They are also not receiving pay. So they are on suspension without pay. 17 folks from the jail, 6 now charged with murder. And we have these correctional officers in New York State now walking the picket line. Okay. They launched a wildcat strike, meaning that this strike is not something that their union agreed on. Okay. And in fact, the CO's union is like, you know, this is a violation of the law. There's a law in New York State. Is it called the Taylor Law or the Taylor Act? Along those lines, where state employees are not allowed to participate in unsanctioned strikes. This is a wildcat strike. Okay. So these people just walked off the job. And part of the reason why the COs are claiming that the conditions are so rough for them, it's so hard. We have to work so much. They're making us work 24-hour shifts. And we're understaffed. Well, maybe if some of your fucking staff members would stop murdering people, you would stop losing employees. That's another topic. But we'll pop up the article pertaining to the HALT Act. Now, this is something I was looking at tons of videos from some of these cracker-ass crackers walking that picket line. And wait a minute, can I say this real quick? For my folks that know, and I know we got some folks that know, y'all, why is upstate New York motherfucking Mississippi? Why is it Mississippi? Why is it Mississippi? Why is it Mississippi? And I don't mean the cool negrified parts of Mississippi. I mean the anglified Caucasoid. It's like, God damn, it's Crackerville, Cracker Central upstate New York. That shit is nuts. And I noticed, Nick, shout out to my Negroes in Rochester and Buffalo. And I know there's a few of y'all. It's niggas upstate, but it's way more crackers. It's way more crackers. We gonna get to that. But here's the HALT Act. The human alternative to long-term solitary confinement. Every single video I saw from one of these correctional officer ass crackers, they were like, it's the HALT Act. Ever since the HALT Act, it's making it impossible for our officers to do their jobs safely. We have no control over the prisoners because we can't dehumanize them as much as we used to before the HALT Act came into law. So let me tell you what the HALT Act is. HALT. Human alternative to long-term solitary confinement. Everybody knows solitary confinement is torture. Don't ask me. Ask the Geneva Convention. Ask Amnesty International. Ask the United Nations. I don't make the rules. Solitary confinement is torture. It inflicts deep psychological, emotional, and physical harm onto persons who are subjected to long-term isolation and minimal care. People who are in solitary, they make They might get fed. They may not get fed. They might get medical attention. They may not get medical attention. They might have the COs coming into that solitary confinement cell and beating them further. It's torture. It's cruel and unusual punishment. It should be banned and outlawed in the United States. And instead, it is a very, very common practice. In 2022, the HALT Act became law in New York State. The HALT Act says that persons who are incarcerated who are under the age of 21 or over the age of 55 or has a disability or are pregnant cannot be subjected to solitary confinement for 3 consecutive days or 6 total days in a 30-day period, or if the alleged conduct or misbehavior from the incarcerated person is considered to be heinous or egregious, they can be put in solitary for no longer than 15 consecutive days and no more. And I think no more than 20 days of solitary in a 60-day period. Double check that, chat. I'm pretty sure I got that all right, though. Shout out to me. So that's the HALT Act put onto the books. I'm certain it got there through the hard work of a lot of people advocating and organizing and pressuring New York State legislatures and the governors to put something like this on the books, because undoubtedly people were suffering and dying in solitary confinement spaces within New York City prisons and penitentiaries and Rikers Island and amongst other places. So the HALT Act is one thing that got these cracker-ass correctional officers fed up. They walked off the fucking job, fed up, right? The other thing they're pissed off about, and I think I said this, is that there are apparently new cameras, more cameras being installed in the prisons to monitor activity. Well, the COs don't want that because then you'll see them doing shit that they're not supposed to be doing, abusing prisoners and all kinds of shit, right? What was the other thing the COs said that they wanted? Oh, okay. They want body scanners added to the prisons. So when visitors come, that visitors have to walk through body scanners, very similar to what you see at the airport, I believe, right? Not metal detectors, body scanners, okay? However, you guys are not gonna believe this. The correctional officers themselves do not want to be subjected to having to walk through the body scanners themselves. They want the body scanners for everybody else, for the visitors in particular, but they don't think that why should I have to walk through a body scanner? Yes, there is drugs and contraband getting into the jail. What does me, officer dickhead, what does officer dickhead have to do with that? Well, we all know when they talk about drugs and contraband and all that shit in the prisons, who is bringing that shit in the prisons? Kids. Of course it's the goddamn COs. Of course it's the COs. Let us not be ridiculous out here. So the correctional officers are on strike because they don't like the working conditions. They don't like the fact that they feel as though their jobs are being more scrutinized because a man just happened to get beat to death at the hands of 6 correctional officers. That doesn't mean that they need more cameras and shit on them. That's exactly what it means. And anytime anyone, particularly agents of the state, are bucking against transparency, are bucking against the public being able to scrutinize and examine what they do, that means that they're probably doing bullshit, illegal bullshit, shit that under, I guess, reasonable, sane circumstances would cause them to lose their jobs. So no, they don't want that. And they're willing to subject themselves to potential fines and penalties levied by New York State. Because again, this wildcat strike is illegal. They are not supposed to be doing this. And not all of them are. A couple of them have broken the picket lines and gone back to work, but not before New York Governor Kathy Hochul called in the National Guard, which sounds scary because I'm sorry, are National Guardsmen trained to be jailers? Whatever I think about COs, trust me, which is not much. I do think there's some training, some protocols, some methodologies that someone trying to manage a jail population would have to at least be apprised of and preferably trained in, right? Not to say that the way that the jails are run are good at all. But to deploy a basically militarized force into these civilian prisons, I don't think that that's the right thing. And in fact, there has been an unconfirmed death, and I can't say who because I don't know. But again, one of the sisters on TikTok claimed that someone from Bear Hill Correctional Facility has lost their life at the hands of a National Guardsman. That is unconfirmed. I hope somebody is able to dig into that and discover whether or not that's accurate or no. But I want us to really get to, and let me say this real quick. So here on this platform, we stand with labor. We stand with the rights of working people. We support strike actions and people withholding their labor. However, in the case of these correctional officers, in terms of solidarity, fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck your homeboys. Fuck your co-workers. Fuck your whole union. Fuck all y'all motherfuckers. Y'all are not workers. In fact, you guys are the overseer class for the elites. And I have to laugh when these fucking redneck ass, upstate ass crackers cry about their working conditions. The base salary for New York State corrections officers like in the mid 50s, and with overtime they can make 70K plus, 80K plus, probably more than that. So sure, your work hours suck. and your wives are complaining that they don't get to see you, but you're earning a salary off of managing basically an enslaved population of folks, and you're complaining about your work conditions. Well, this is the job the elites saw fit for you, Cowboy Roy from Utica. They didn't build up upstate New York. I don't know if there's a lot of manufacturing jobs. I don't know if it's a tech corridor up there. The employment opportunities for white men from upstate New York is to be jailers. This is what you signed up for. If this is some shit that you don't want to do no more, you can't handle, quit, bitch. Fucking quit. But just be clear, this is what the system thinks of you. These are the conditions that you are entitled to work. And you should be grateful because you could have no fucking job, right? Per the elites. You understand? It is me speaking, but you understand what I'm saying. So again, I have to laugh when they complain about how terrible the conditions are, how unfair they are for their safety, because with the HALT Act, inmate on officer violence is increased because they can't control the population. Yeah, I'm curious as to what the officer on inmate assault percentage rise looks like, right? I could never feel sorry for these fucking pigs. I feel sorry for the people that are behind the wall. Yes, I even feel sorry for somebody like Robert Brooks, who committed harm against his partner because he was there to serve his time. And again, y'all know I'm also not opposed to prison justice, okay? Against child molesters, against pedophiles, against rapists. If the prisoners decide to enact some justice upon those kind of folks, I'm with it. When the correction officers decide to dispense their prison justice, fuck them. Because we don't pay a state salary for them to murder people, okay? That's not their job. And some will be like, well, Kim, didn't Robert Brooks kill his wife? Isn't that what he got? He deserved to get that from them cops. Nope, absolutely not. I want us to hear from the sisters, speaking of the incarcerated folks, because it is they who are suffering right now. Because these fucking punk ass police, basically, these correctional officers decided themselves to violate the law and engage in this wildcat strike. Inmates are not being released from their cells. They are on seemingly 24-hour lockdown. They're not getting food. They're not getting. Hold on. Let me not tell it. Let me let the women or people. The first sister, I think, is a spouse to someone that's locked up in New York. But anyway, let's listen to them. Let's let them tell it. They can tell it better. Go ahead, Will.
All right, y'all. Listen. And I'm serious. PSA. And I'm at work right now, so don't mind me. My husband is currently in Bear Hill Correctional Facility. All the correctional officers have abandoned their posts. They have left the jail. When you say, what do you mean they left the jail? They left the jail. Today will be the third day that there has been no recreation activities, no programs, no nothing. Last night, they was there and they gave out the commissary sheets that the inmates have to fill out to get commissary. They were supposed to get commissary today. They left those sheets. When they was done filling them out, they gave them back to their officers. The officers left those sheets on the table. They left those sheets on the table and left out. They locked them in their dorms. The only thing that's unlocked is the TV room and the bathroom. Everything is unlocked. Everything else is locked. They can't go nowhere. Nobody's calling child for them to eat. So they can't eat. They're not getting packages. People packages are spoiling. They're not getting them. So they can't eat. They can't go anywhere. You have people that has medical conditions that need their medicine. They cannot go anywhere. They cannot get it. All these inmates are being neglected. You have people that's supposed to go home today and be released from prison. They cannot get out. There's no paperwork being done. Everything is in shambles. Like, they literally left the whole jail. There is no correctional officers in the whole jail. Everybody's locked down. These inmates have nothing but tablets. Literally. They're hungry. People is supposed to end by law. Inmates are required at least 1 hour a day of recreation. There's nothing going on. Nothing moving. I'm trying to get this out to as many people as I can. We need help. If you know somebody, if you know somebody in there, if you know some help, we need lawyers. We need Albany. Hello. Like, what is being done about this? Like, there's stuff going on. You cannot leave inmates unattended. People can really die behind this. This is a serious problem. Serious problem. So I'm reaching out to whoever I can, wherever I can. Share this video. Get it going. We need everybody to see this. Spread the word. Somebody reach out. I need help. Let's get this going, because this is getting crazy.
Hey y'all, so if you have a loved one in prison in New York State, listen up. So if you don't know, there are COs right now that's on strike. There's a lot of COs from a lot of prisons that's on strike right now, from being underpaid, overworked. I get it, right? Now, the thing about that is, now, with that being said, a lot of visitations are canceled. So from right now, I know that Elmira Correctional Facility, Attica Correctional Facility, Auburn, 5 Points, Upstate, Clinton, Windy, and Eastern New York Correctional Facilities, visitations are closed. I know there's other places, but I know those for sure are closed, because that's from the New York State Department of Corrections Facebook, right? I think a lot of the mediums too, Green, there's a lot of places. But my thing is, before you go visit, make sure you call the prison, or at least try to speak to somebody before you go, because it might be canceled. This is like a crazy issue right now. They even have the National Guards dispatching to help out in the prisons because they don't have no staff. And the whole thing about that is, I get it. Like, I get why they want to go on strike. It makes sense. They probably overwork. And believe me, I know they probably ain't getting that much money. But now, a lot of the inmates, you know, they have a neglect where, like all the medications right now, they're not receiving the medication that they need. Especially like when people have like serious diagnosis and stuff like that. They're barely getting food. And you know the food is nasty already. They can't receive packages right now as well. So again, make sure, you know, you tap in and figure that out before you start sending packages. I heard a lot of packages are getting returned back. So make sure, you know. It's just so much going on, and it's just so sad for both sides. And I hope they figure out something, because this is a hot mess. But stay tuned. I'm going to do some more updates when I find out. So, yep, that's it.
You know, gang, if this exact scenario where literally thousands of people have been abandoned, I can't even say to fend for themselves, because how can the fuck can you fend for yourself when your cell is locked? You know what I'm saying? What fend for yourself can you really do while locked inside of a cage? But if this was a country we didn't like, this was China. Who else don't we like? South Africa. Who else don't Trump like? Panama, even though Panama's kind of on some bullshit right now, that's another story. But if it was a country that the United States deemed as our enemy, this would be a human rights violation. Oh, the human rights violation happening in China. Look at how they treat people in Russia. Look at. Okay, this would be the American propaganda, anti-propaganda against another country. But this is what's happening to American citizens born on this soil and still never ever given the full rights of citizenship. This is how you are able to treat people that you don't regard, number one, as citizens, and you don't regard as people. This is abhorrent. And honestly, I would say send in UN peacekeepers to come liberate the prisoners, to set the captives free. But, you know, the UN peacekeepers might bring cholera with them. So fuck them too, right? I don't know who can come save these folks, but at minimum, and I hate being kind of stuck at this level sometimes. We have to raise awareness. We have to ring the alarm, which is important, but that's not the final steps. But what can we do from our chairs, our armchairs, even from outside of New York State? Tell the people, ring the alarm, call. By the way, Kathy Hochul, by the way, the Democrats are not coming to save us, but Kathy Hochul did say that there are law proceedings beginning against these striking officers again, because this is illegal. They're not supposed to do this. And this is reprehensible, deplorable, and inhumane. The only way this is able to allow to happen, again, because incarcerated people are viewed as those that have, I understand, and I don't agree, but I don't think you should lose all of your fucking rights just because you get arrested or you have to serve a sentence. And if these cops was really about it, which they're not, these correctional officers, you should have identified all the nonviolent offenders and opened their cells, let them out. You should have let them out. Every pickpocket, every drug dealer, every possession with intent to distribute, even every handgun possession, because possessing a handgun is not a violent offense. Okay, that is just possessing a handgun. Oh, well, what are they going to do with the gun? Hold it until they fucking need it. I don't know. But just because you have a gun or a knife on you does not make you a shooter and or a stabber. It makes you someone that is interested in self-preservation and self-defense. I digress. So yeah, people with those kind of charges, them guards, these pussy ass correctional officers should have let all them folks out. You want to make a protest? You want to take a stand? Don't leave people to rot. But and can I also say, gang, I watched several local media outlets, mainstream media outlets, but local to the, Elmira, Buffalo, wherever, all these places upstate New York. Baby, when I tell you they only gave the perspective of the correctional officers, they only spoke about the woes and the suffering of the correctional officers, can I tell you that the inmates' perspective was never thought of, never mentioned, never considered? And I hate that in American society, again, the correctional or us as a society have a tendency to throw away our incarcerated people. And the media helps to reinforce that by completely erasing and omitting them as any part or any consideration of the story, which is also gross and disgusting and deplorable. So, as we see under Trump's America, Trump's America 2.0, those of us that are the farthest away from the heterosexual, cisgender, white male body, right? If you are a woman, if you are non-binary, if you are gay, if you are disabled, you're on the chopping block, baby. And me too, in lots of ways. And if they're able to throw away the human rights of inmates, if they're able to throw away the human rights of undocumented migrants, well, I'm not special. Why wouldn't they throw my human rights away? Why wouldn't they throw yours away? Like, you have to prioritize vulnerable and marginalized groups of folks because, but for the grace of God, go I. Yeah, it's undocumented Venezuelans and Haitians today. It could be you tomorrow. Oh, well, I'm safe. No, you're not safe. Are you a cisgender, hetero, white man? Even if you are, do you got any money? You got some Skrilla? Because if you are broke, bitch, let's say if you are hetero, cisgender, white male, are you broke? Oh, well, they're going to do you like they doing the correctional officers. Work that 24-hour shift, white boy. And be grateful that you got a state-sponsored salary, pension, healthcare benefits. Sure, your wife and children never see you. And your conditions are also, your working conditions are bad. But white boy, that's the status that the elites have designated for you. That's your job. Oh, you feel like you treated bad? Well, tough shit. Go vote for Trump. And guess what Trump is going to tell you? Tough shit. He's going to tell you tough shit. Wake up, so-called poor working class white folks. Get it the fuck together. And please, I would say send as much love as you can to the folks behind the wall everywhere across the country, but particularly in New York at this moment because they're struggling and suffering. I don't even know if that's going to do any fucking thing. You can drop commissary and people's shit all you want to right now. Are they going to be able to receive it? This is a very urgent and pressing issue. Please do what you can to sound the alarm. Tell your people what's going on. You know what I'm saying? And okay, if we want to count this as example number 50,742 as the example of how fascism is right here, a lot of this again was happening. Well, shit. Robert Brooks was killed while Joe Biden was still fucking president. So miss me with the fascism is came after Trump arrived. Nope, fascism was here before then. But we don't take our eye off the ball. We don't take our foot off the gas. Please tell the folks what's going on in New York and ask them, especially the families and the loved ones of the incarcerated people, and including advocacy organizations for those that are incarcerated. See what you can do to help. See what you can do to help. I haven't seen too much, if anything, in terms of what we can do on the outside. But if you see something, drop it in the chat, drop it in the comments. I'd appreciate it. Okay. Solidarity with all the people that are locked up in New York right now and struggling during this correctional officer strike. We will keep you posted.